Okay, so I think we are live. We are live. We are on the last day of the Process Safety Leadership Challenge. So, applause for the audience, applause for everybody involved. Hopefully, y'all are enjoying this, whether you're watching or recording or live. And today we're going to be diving into what we call the sustain phase. So this is day 4. If you're just joining us, my name is Joel Aponte, and I'm here with Felipe Rondon, our co-founder, Safe Energy Ops. And with this 4-day challenge, we're looking to help you and your company and your site systematically strengthen process safety leadership without site pushback, policy overwhelm, or hiring additional personnel. And we do this through a very specific framework that's battle tested that we've used in our own experience. And so let's kind of recap a little bit. If you're new to this, just make sure you subscribe and like our channel so you can see all of our content, including the previous days to this challenge. And our goals for this challenge, we're going to do a quick recap. It being the last day, it's important for us to make sure that we're accounting for the goals that we started. So starting with the end in mind, we want to explain how to reduce process safety risk by focusing on process safety leadership. That is our core focus on this challenge. And it's because we believe that process safety leadership is a foundational key element that oftentimes is overseen, is not talked about enough, it's not systematized enough. And so that's our goal here. And we want to explain how to influence upper management and the site, even if you're not a senior manager. So just because you are an individual contributor and maybe you don't have manager or management in your job title, that does not mean that you cannot be a process safety leader in your site. And it's our duty to be a process safety leader wherever we're at in a process safety managed driven site. Okay. Now we want to provide a clear roadmap to strengthen process safety leadership at your site, and we're going to be diving deep today on what the sustain phase is. And we want to help you highlight focus areas for your process safety leadership needs. And in earlier days, we introduced a process safety leadership dashboard, and it provides you an index so that you have a clear idea through self-assessment. And we invite you to download it, participate, share in the community what it is that you're seeing so that you have clear perspective. And we want you to walk away with actionable steps to begin improving your process safety leadership immediately. Obviously, this is accidents and process safety events. One is far too many. And we want you to start taking action today, because getting the knowledge but not taking action is kind of a moot point, right? So with that said, stay until the end. We're going to walk you through how to fill this out for your site. We're going to make sure that you're using the tool and that we're collaborating as a network of process safety leaders across different industries, different sites worldwide. We're very passionate about this. We want to make sure that you participate and join us in the journey. Okay, so let's review the Safe Energy Ops Leadership Framework roadmap. And so this is it. We've been going through the past 3 days. Today is day 4. On the first day, we introduced the concept, why it's important, why it's beneficial to focus on process safety leadership. On the second day, phase 1 is aligned because we need to have, a clear safety case for a change. We need to articulate an inspiring vision for the site, and we want to set up collaboration channels so that the support site and the execution the support team and the execution team members can collaborate, harmoniously. And then yesterday we covered what the empower phase is, which is actually equipping the team with the tools to streamline and actually have the right culture around this framework. So we spoke about promote safe execution, which essentially is a stop the job framework regarding process safety leadership. We spoke about reinforcing the desired behaviors and how human psychology works with that. And we spoke about ways to streamline defect elimination to essentially make it better, easier without cutting corners, right? Without, essentially skipping any steps, but we spoke about good practices around streamlining defect elimination to empower the site for execution. And today we're going to be going deep diving into the sustain stage. All right. And this is comprised of 3 different steps right here. So day 4, sustain, last day of the challenge. Definitely want to see you in the community. Lots of networking going on, lots of people active in there. It's growing every day. And so we want to today break down how to sustain a strong process of safety leadership culture, how to sustain that, right? If we make a change, we want it to be a everlasting change. And so we've lived through this. We're just sharing what works or what we have seen work. And so this is phase 3, the sustain stage, the 3 main steps that we're going to be talking through. The first one being the manage the workload stage. It's all about avoiding action overload. Who hasn't been to a site, right? And they say, oh, we can't handle another initiative, right? I mean, I can say that I have. And then we've got the display KPIs, which is all about being able to see where we're at, right? Let's say that you go to an emergency clinic. They're going to get you into the triage section and they're going to check for your blood pressure, your sugars, like how's that going? So we want to be able to see forefront what are our KPIs and communicate them effectively so that we don't lose track of where we're at. And then we're going to be speaking about elevating the safety standard. Okay. So the goals of this phase is to, again, prevent reversion back to old habits. We've seen, as not only, speakers of this, but practitioners, we've seen how easy it is to go back to old habits. So how to prevent that. We're going to talk about avoiding burnout from action overload. Okay. Because when everything's a priority, nothing's a priority, morale goes down in the site. And so this is very real, something that has to be proactively managed. Okay. And then how to continue motivating by showing progress. Okay. We're going to be looking into, and obviously the goal is to reinforce the why behind process safety improvement, why even take the time to talk about this, to build this into the culture. All right. So with that said, I'll hand it over to Felipe to take us through phase 3 of the sustain phase, and stick till the end so that we can walk you through how to get that process safety index filled out and maybe next steps in terms of improving your process safety leadership. With that said, Felipe, take it away.
All right, thanks, Joel. So the first step in the sustain phase is step 7, manage the workload. So why manage workload? How does it help us sustain a strong process safety culture? Well, operations are dynamic and new issues are continually arising. So any of you who've worked in operations, whether that be in the oil and gas sector and in fabrication and chemical processing and even fertilizing plants, all across industries, how dynamic operational issues can be every day. There might be a new issue you're confronted with. And so, of course, with all of those issues arising, you've got to have a system in place that you can use to manage all of that workload, to know, what takes priority here, what takes priority. And the key is going to be, as we'll see, how to prevent you from just being blinded by what the latest thing is that has come up, right? What the latest hot topic is, or what the latest hot issue is. At the end of the day, you have to have a system in place that, puts everything in a prioritized, ranked order so that you make sure you're thinking about it as a system and you're thinking a little longer term than what the latest issue is. In addition to solving operational issues, we're requiring the workforce to take the time to assess process safety barrier health and work on process safety defects. So this is all about improving process safety leadership at your site. So if your site has been focused on, solving operational issues as they come up, but you're here because you want process safety to take a higher priority, you want to convince the site, hey, we need to start improving our process safety management. and we need to start, looking at these problems more holistically, more seriously, then, of course, it's going to be, it can be seen as more on the plate. But, if you have a system that manages that workload, an effective system, it's really essential, so that you can now balance everything together. The reality is, in an operation environment, there's going to be things that have to be solved right away, that are going to take priority, because that at the end of the day, it's critical for operation of the site. The key is how you prioritize and incorporate some of those longer term things, and some of the process safety defects that at the end of the day may not seem like they're about to, for lack of a better term, bite you, but they definitely at some point can, and the impact is going to be a lot worse than smaller operational issues that keep coming up. And if your workload is not properly managed, there can be a tendency to revert back to working exclusively on latest operational issues instead of finding those root cause sustainable solutions. So what I just talked about, if you do incorporate process safety defect elimination into your site, if you don't have that good method to manage the workload, you might see some success for some time, but the tendency is going to be to revert back to the latest breakdown, the latest thing that needs to be fixed, and not taking that step back, looking at the big picture, and really taking the time to do quality investigations, finding root cause solutions, because that's what process safety management is really all about. It's finding those root cause solutions that are longer term, that are going to improve the overall health of your site, instead of just patching symptoms. And finally, if your workload is not properly managed, the workforce obviously can become overwhelmed and discouraged. We're gonna dive deeper into this. A lot of sites, Joel and I have seen this firsthand. We've lived through this. You get so many things on the plate, everything becomes a priority, which really means nothing is a priority. And you can feel overwhelmed, you can feel discouraged, because it just seems like there's so much more to do than the time that we have to do it. We're getting more on our plate than we're able to accomplish. So the list just keeps getting bigger. And that's where, a good workload management system comes into play and is essential. There you go. If everything's seen as priority, then nothing's a priority. So common struggles we see with managing workload at a site. There's a lack of systematic prioritization method. So as I alluded to earlier, this is pretty much the first step, is to create a systematic way to prioritize all of your actions, all of your issues, so that you can target your resources, you can target your time appropriately and effectively to the problems that need it the most. Your focus is constantly shifting. If you're not prioritizing your issues, you're destined as a human being to place your focus on the latest thing that's come up, right? So you can picture yourself, going throughout your day, having a plan at the beginning of the day, and as the day goes on, you bump into someone that says, "Hey, did you know that they're going to shut down this electrical part of the electrical power grid. You should really check out if your house is incorporated into that shutdown." And then you might run into some other issue, and all of a sudden you kind of forget about what you had planned for that day, because something has now taken over your attention, right? When really, maybe you could look into that electrical shutdown that's scheduled for a few days from now. You can look into that later. You can look into that tonight when you get home after you've accomplished everything, instead of letting your focus be taken over by what the latest issue that's come up is. And finally, resources being spread too thin. Speaks for itself. If you're not managing workload properly, you might try to tackle everything at once, and really all you're doing is just making small amounts of progress and not really completing anything. You're trying to tackle everything, but you're not really completing actions. Whereas focusing effort on a set of priorities is going to get you more progress and get you further faster. So to kind of imagine this concept of a lack of workload management and these common struggles, I'd like to imagine that you're in charge of maintenance at a large building. So new issues arise every day in the building, such as plumbing leaks, electrical shorts, equipment failure, air conditioning unit failures, things of that nature. There are systemic issues such as piping corrosion that's affecting many piping networks, electrical insulation failures, that maybe the wrong insulation was specified on some electrical wiring. Maybe you've got mold, maybe you've got moisture. So there are systemic issues in the building. But the building owners, they want you to fix everything ASAP. Everything is a priority. They don't help you prioritize. They just want it all done, and they want it done now. So hurry up and get to work, right? You can see where, you and your maintenance team are confronted with issues every day. You have a request to fix, an electrical issue in a specific room in the building. And at the same time, that there are some systemic issues that need to be investigated to understand where the moisture is coming from, or why we keep having these, electrical insulation failures. But it just doesn't seem like, first of all, anyone wants you to look at the systemic issues, and it doesn't feel like you have the time, because there's always from a light bulb that needs to get fixed, or someone in an office, claiming that there's a leak underneath the sink. And so, it's you can imagine how hard it is to really know what to tackle, and how you can feel you're spread thin, and your crew are often pulled from the middle of one task to start another. So you can imagine that kind of environment. So the 3 steps that we promote to help you manage workload at a site. Once you've got the align phase and the empower phase in action, rolled out, and now you see that there's a lot perhaps on the plate of the site, and it's time to really manage that workload. Step 1, develop a methodology for risk ranking process safety incidents. So as process safety incidents arise, whether you look at a history of process safety incidents at your site, as we recommend, when you're developing your KPI data, to look at 6 to 12 months worth, or as new incidents occur, you're going to want to rank those based on a certain methodology. That methodology, can be discussed with your leadership, as amongst site leadership, as with site support leadership as well, to really tailor it to what you feel is best for your site. We recommend, at Safe Energy Ops, that you at least include the safety impact or safety consequence, and the frequency of the incident. So is it happening a lot, and how bad is the potential consequence of that process safety incident? And so at least those 2 include in the risk ranking methodology, because that's going to help you determine the right priority of the actions, which is going to be in the next step. And we recommend the risk ranking be performed by the process safety task force that was created in step 3 of the align phase. That multidisciplinary team is going to have the right perspectives in the room to really, assign that risk ranking to these process safety incidents. And so, you can imagine a list, a prioritized or a risk ranked list, of process safety incidents for the site that gets developed out of this step 1. And so you have, kind of a narrowing down, the first stage of narrowing down of what to start focusing on. Step 2 is then developing a methodology for prioritizing actions. And so, of course, you're going to take this risk ranked list of process safety incidents, and you're going to then, out of the investigations that come out of these process safety incidents, which, hopefully you're having quality investigations for each one of these incidents as to what the cause was, and you're finding root causes of the incidents. Action should be coming out in the form of solutions, potential solutions to fix these process safety issues. All of these solutions, of course, need to be prioritized to determine what you're going to work on first. And so we recommend that your methodology for prioritizing these actions be based on that risk ranking from step one, which means, the higher the risk rank in that list, the higher the priority. And we also recommend you factoring in the time required to complete the action. What we mean by this is, the highest risk ranked process safety incident for your site might require actions that take quite a long time to complete. Of course, those actions need to be prioritized, accordingly at a high priority. But there might be some actions for those process safety incidents a little bit lower on the list that take just a little bit of time, take a lot less time to complete. And we think that you should factor that in to your prioritization method for your actions. This is because, at the end of the day, you want to be making progress. You don't want to be stuck, in those longer term actions alone, even though, of course, they're tied to the high risk process safety incidents, but you want to be making progress. This is going to be helping morale. This is going to be, optimizing time, resources, and as those actions get completed, that frees up. That means less incidents, less of those incidents, and that's the whole idea here, right? We want to be making progress and reducing those process safety incidents and those process safety risks. So we recommend those two things when it comes to prioritizing your actions: the risk ranking from step one and the time required to complete the action. Finally, in step two, we want you to narrow down the focus of each person that has been assigned actions to a top number of actions. So what we mean by that, for example, we are big fans of the top 10 method. What that means is, you're focused on the top 10 actions for the site for when it comes to process safety, and you're going to be checking in at every task force meeting on those top 10 actions and until they're completed. And the whole goal here, and it's really the key to this managed workload step, is that your focus is now honed in. It's honed in, and you're going to follow through on these actions until they're completed. Now, of course, something may come up, a new process safety incident, that it gets risk ranked, it gets prioritized according to the new methodology, and it might just have to displace, one of the activities that was in the top 10. And that's okay. That's okay. That's part of the process. As long as everyone is in agreement, everyone understands that something has now happened that's going to take, it's going to displace one of the top 10 activities, everyone's in agreement. And now we're gonna work on this. It's part of the top 10, but we're going to keep at it, and we're going to keep at it until it's done. This is going to avoid, the resources being spread too thin, everything seeming like a priority. We're always having to work on this and that thing and everything, and weeks go by, months go by, and nothing is actually really getting done, or it just takes a long time because we're just spread so thin. And so, this is the recommendation we provide. This is what we've seen work at our sites, and ultimately, what we recommend for you. Finally, step three is to manage up as well as down. What this means is, you as a process safety leader, of course, need to manage the workload of your team and those that report to you, or those that are, or even maybe influencing your peers. But you also need to manage up, and that means with your own superiors, with your own leaders. You have to flag if there's overload going on, or if they are pushing you to work on things that are outside of the agreed priority, right? You have to manage up and, filter that pressure from your superiors so that your team is not affected and they don't feel, all of a sudden scattered about again, having to work on things that didn't fall on our prioritized list. Again, sometimes an incidents occur, but it has to be an agreed displacement within the priority list, very visible so everyone sees, and then we work on it. But this is all about honing in the focus, becoming structured, and becoming prioritized, so that there's a strategy. There's a strategy to how we're tackling, we're approaching process safety management. So those are our 3 steps. So now imagine that you're in charge of maintenance at the building, but maintenance requests are prioritized according to agreed methodologies. Focus is narrowed to the top priorities until they're completed. Building owners are aligned with the prioritization and understand that space must be made for systemic issues. So systemic issues must be included in the prioritized list. And you feel confident in flagging work overload and lack of resource issues to the building owners. You can see how there's a lot more structure here. There's a lot more, purpose to how the maintenance team is performing work. And we strongly believe that this approach is going to allow, the building to, in a sustainable way, again, this is all about sustainability, in a sustainable way, get healthier, get the building performance is going to improve, and you're going to find the building is just going to operate a lot smoother over time, because there's a strategic approach into how problems are solved, instead of just stopping every leak with your thumb and your fingers as it pops out. So everything we discussed is summarized in the Managed Workload cheat sheet, which of course is available for download, and we recommend you print it and share it with your teams. All right, the next step in the sustain phase is step 8, display KPIs. Why display KPIs? How does it help sustain strong process safety culture? So showing process safety improvement progress in the form of KPI trends can really motivate the workforce to sustain improvement. After all this work, after making strides and implementing new strategies, new initiatives, of course, you'd like to see where you stand. You'd like to see the progress, because seeing that progress is going to motivate you, right? Wow, we've made a difference here. We're in the right direction. That's only gonna motivate you to continue to improve and implement the strategies that we've started. Regularly showing KPI trends can also make the site aware when process safety performance is falling. This means that, hey, actually, we've done well in these areas, but actually now that we've trended the key performance indicating data, we see that we're actually headed in the wrong direction in this area. Or, we did well at first, but now we're headed back to where we were. We need to start focusing efforts again and maybe even change our strategy up a bit, or tweak our strategy accordingly. And periodically reviewing lessons learned helps ensure that the same mistakes are not repeated, and new members to the team understand what has already happened, what have we already gone through. And so this is a huge part of sustaining process safety culture, that we've seen as people change, people retire, or they move on, and new people get hired. We have to maintain those lessons learned, sharing and revolving, just to make sure that the same mistakes are not learned over again, right? And that's part of displaying, KPIs and the data, so that new team members, don't repeat the same mistakes. They can learn from what's already happened at the site, and they can see the journey that the site has been through. Showing the organizational context of a site's KPI performance can be another source of motivation and pride for sustaining strong process safety performance. The key here is organizational context. And so when you're presenting your KPI data, not only do you want to show the numbers and the improvement in terms of, oh, well, our numbers of loss of primary containment have gone down, our days without a process safety incident has gone up, but you want to provide that organizational context, such as, we've had less injuries, not just as a site, but we've contributed to the entire company's, safety performance and number of injuries. We've had a lot of less people, obviously injured, but the site is doing well in terms of overall health. Just giving all of that organizational context, that broader context, is going to be a source of motivation and pride for continuing to push forward and sustaining process safety culture progress. So, common struggles we see with displaying KPIs at a site. Displaying KPIs are simply not prioritized. So it's not given priority. It's not a requirement. It's not worked on. Reporting accountability is not clear. So it's, the responsibility for it's not assigned. Nobody's sure who's supposed to do it. And nobody really takes the initiative because they're not sure what the benefit is. And organizational impact of KPI progress is just not communicated. So, without those things in place, it's going to be hard for a site to really, justify or perform the display of KPIs. So imagine that building maintenance team again. The workload management has improved, but they aren't sure if the building is getting in better shape or not. They're not reviewing any data to understand if the building is getting any better. No one seems to be in charge of gathering or trending maintenance data. You're just going off of, kind of what you think is happening to the building. And the localized impact of every completed maintenance task is recognized, but the wider reaching impact to the building and its people is not communicated, despite it being a valuable source of information. So this is what I was speaking about with the organizational impact. When you perform an individual task in this building, you fix a plumbing leak. Of course, the localized impact is pretty obvious, right? There's no longer a leak. There was a leak, and there's no longer a leak. But the wider ranging impact, meaning the building is consuming less water. People are less susceptible to mold exposure because there's less moisture in the flooring, in the walls. People are breathing cleaner air because there's less, again, problems with moisture. Those are the wider impacts that can make someone on the ground on a site, part of this maintenance team, motivated because they say, well, I'm making an impact here. I'm making an impact on people. At the end of the day, it's people. It's people that make things happen. It's people that create a culture. It's people that protect each other, and that's all part of the motivational why that we preach. So 3 steps that you can do to improve, the display of KPIs at your site. Step 1 is simply to assign KPI reporting accountability. Assign that to the key individuals that are able to access the KPI data, that are able to gather it, and make sure that accountability is well understood. And step 2, define the reporting process. What this means simply is, define the frequency that we're going to gather the data and present the data to the team, whether that be monthly, whether that be quarterly, and just have that well defined and have that expectation set. And then step 3, present that KPI data on that frequency and communicate the organizational impact. So, these 3 simple steps are going to satisfy the common struggles that we see with not displaying KPIs. And it's pretty straightforward. So imagine that building maintenance team again, and now they understand how their efforts are affecting building performance. Now they've got the KPI data displayed. They understand how their efforts are affecting building performance. They're motivated by the impact they're having on building performance and the quality of life inside the building. They make adjustments to strategy and prioritization based on KPI trends, right? So, they might notice that, hey, actually, our electrical is doing way better. We're having a lot less electrical failures, but we seem to be having more and more, moisture issues, leaks, things like that. So we need to shift our focus and our prioritization in that direction. So hopefully that explains the benefits and the methods, the steps for getting an effective KPI display program set up at your site. Everything can be summarized in the cheat sheet available for download. And finally, the last step of the sustain phase, step 9, is to elevate the safety standard. So elevate the safety standard. Why and how does it help sustain process safety culture? When you elevate the safety standard, you're raising the baseline expectation for process safety behaviors and performance. We've gotten better. We've implemented the steps in this framework. Everyone is talking about process safety. It's being held as a priority. It's being discussed day to day. We've got good behaviors going. So, we need to now raise the standard and expectation of what's accepted, of what's acceptable. When things, inevitably fray or stray from the, accepted desired behaviors and accepted standards, it's no longer okay to perform an activity how it used to be performed. We expect more now. This has to happen in order for that culture to be sustained, in order for the prevention of reversion back to the old habits that existed before this effort. It lets the team know what the new normal is. It pushes continuous improvement instead of reversion back to old habits. And you want to instill that continuous improvement mindset, to keep, basically just to keep getting better at process safety, because, it's really never enough to say, when it comes to process safety, to say everything is, perfect. And continually reinforce the why behind process safety excellence so it's not forgotten and new team members can adopt the desired behaviors and culture. But this why, again, is the foundation. It's going to be that engine that keeps everything moving when it comes to process safety culture. When there's things going wrong, you might have been facing some setbacks when it comes to process safety, and that why is going to be the reason why, no pun intended, that everyone keeps moving forward and striving for that process safety excellence. And you want to make sure that why is continually reinforced, and new team members that join the team can adopt that why. They understand the why, so it can be something that brings everyone together and ties it all together. Common struggles that we see with elevating the safety standard is the why is simply not strong enough. We've been over this multiple times by now. If you see in our reviews of the phases in this process safety challenge, complacency can set in. Once you've enjoyed a certain amount of improvement and quote unquote success, as with anything, human nature, you're susceptible to complacency, and with enough complacency comes reversion back to old habits, forgetting the why, forgetting the reasons why you've implemented all of the strategies that we've laid out, and finally, undefined site feedback process. So, this is about giving site personnel, the workforce, the ability to feed back on all of these strategies, on the process safety management program itself. You have to have that feedback process to know, what is everyone thinking? Is there something lacking here? Are we misaligned somewhere? Are the solutions that we're implementing just not effective? As a process safety leader, often things might seem like they're going well, or things might seem a certain way. And when you actually, are able to obtain feedback, often it's better to obtain anonymously. So, there's no sort of awkwardness of, on the part of the workforce for bringing up issues. Once you get that feedback, you realize, okay, actually there's some things that are not going quite right, and it might explain, why certain parts of the management program are not functioning as you thought they would. So let's imagine that building maintenance team again. They've enjoyed some success. The maintenance requests are prioritized and systematically solved. Overall building health and performance is improving, and issues seem to occur less frequently. So great things, great progress. However, after some time and changes in personnel, a complacency sets in. Motivation to think systematically and perform root cause problem solving diminishes. Attention and focus is reverted back to the latest operational issue. Team members lose a sense of importance and purpose in their work. Now, we talk a lot about, we mentioned human nature a lot. We mentioned human psychology because, again, at the end of the day, this is about people. Process safety leadership is about people. And, this is another one of those things about human nature, human psychology, that it just has to be recognized for what it is. Anyone is susceptible to complacency with time. That's why it takes continual reinforcement of, the why, the overall, strategies, continual reinforcement, and continual elevation of what is to be expected, so that we keep our minds primed and we don't allow ourselves to revert back to fixing the latest thing that's kind of in front of our face, and we maintain that systematic mindset and that big picture mindset. So the 3 steps that we recommend for elevating the safety standard. Step 1, reinforcing that culture of care. This is that why foundation. Looking out for each other is just a strong motivator. It gives what you do a sense of purpose, a very clear sense of purpose. I'm looking out for others. We're working together as a team. And at the end of the day, I'm doing this, so that my friend, my coworker, is going to go home safely. We're all going to go home safely. I know they're looking out for me, and as social beings, it's a strong motivator. Leaders must embody the culture, and again, going back to what we stated before about leaders holding each other accountable, we have to continue to do that and reinforce that. And so, step 1 is all about reinforcing that culture of care on a regular basis, reminding the workforce that why we're doing this, and we're doing this so everyone goes home safely. We're doing this so we look out for each other, and bring in everyone that's part of each other's lives as well. You're doing this for your friends, for your coworkers and their families as well. Step 2, instill a chronic sense of unease. So this is key, and I want to stress that with that time and experiencing some limited success can really cause that complacency to creep in. That complacency, or comfort is another word for it, that says, I think we're good. I think we're good. I can let my guard down. We haven't had an incident in some time, or our incidents have really gone down. and you really want to be careful and watch out for this. And part of elevating the safety standard is to maintain that chronic sense of unease and that vigilance. And we recommend doing that by holding regular safety walk downs, as a process safety leadership team, discussing safety observations on a daily basis. Hopefully at your site, you have some kind of safety observation program already in place. If you don't, highly recommend you instate one, where anyone can participate with any observations that they see regarding safety, and that those are discussed. Those are shared with the larger group. So it keeps the process safety conversation alive and helps maintain that sense of vigilance. And through regular safety moments, whether that's, discussing the safety observations from the site, or, discussing those industry-wide events from history, those are also conducted on a regular basis, again, to show what can go wrong, that process safety is serious, must be taken seriously, and that, there have been sites in history that unfortunately thought everything was going well, when really certain holes in their process safety barriers were forming that unfortunately lined up and led to an incident. And we can't let that happen at our site, right? And so instilling this chronic sense of unease is critical to a long-term sustainable process safety management program. Finally, step 3, gathering organizational feedback. So this is about setting up, the ability for site and support personnel to provide that feedback to process safety leaders about how well the process safety management program is going, what they see working, what they don't see working, because no one's going to get everything perfect, on the first or second implementation. There's always going to be ways to improve, and you want to help the site workforce, the boots on the ground, the folks that are out implementing, feel like they have a voice and a say in the process safety management program itself and what's affecting them. So you want to give them that voice, for them to feel like they can have a say, a voice in the structure of the program itself. And of course, a lot of good ideas come from those that are closest to the action. So consider making those feedback channels anonymous, again, just to give the folks giving that feedback the level of confidence that they need to be honest with their feedback. So after implementing their version of these steps, that building maintenance team should feel like their motivation is regularly renewed by remembering they're working for the safety and benefit of each other and of all the people in the building. Strong motivator there. They're helping each other, helping people, they're serving people, and they're regularly reminded of that as a source of motivation. They maintain vigilance of building hazards and issues by performing daily walkdowns and discussing findings as a team. You can see how performing daily walkdowns, staying vigilant, discussing findings as a team is definitely proactive instead of reactive. And you might have noticed that a lot of the concepts here are providing a shift in the mindset towards the proactive instead of the reactive, because at the end of the day, if you can stop something, in the early stages before it becomes an issue, you're already becoming more efficient and more effective than waiting for something to happen and then deciding to work on it. And finally, the team provides feedback to leadership on what can be improved to continually get better. That gives them a voice, that makes them feel more involved and have more ownership over their process safety management program, or their building safety management program in this case. And the program itself continues to get better with that valuable feedback. Elevate Safety Standard cheat sheet has all of this information in one place. Highly encourage you to download it and share it with your teams. And that ends the deep dive into all of the steps for Elevate Safety Standard. I'll hand it back off to you, Joel. Take us home.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Felipe, for covering that in detail. Definitely appreciate the analogy with the the building and the maintenance team, and how that reflects for the long term of the sustainability phase. So let's kind of recap what we have covered in the last day of the Increased Process Safety Leadership Challenge. So, we cover strategies for managing workload in a way that reduces burnout and optimizes resources. This is very real. If you've been to a site, you have seen this, you have lived through this. So, we cover that so that process safety remains a priority and the temptation to return back to short-term focus is resisted. Okay, so we went through those steps, and that's one of the key takeaways from this sustainability phase. The next one is the importance of regularly reviewing process safety KPIs to sustain morale. We are results-driven creatures, right? We want to see progress. We want to be able to, touch it, feel it, see it. And so this is important so we can highlight process safety themes that may need attention and keep lessons learned fresh in the organization. So out of sight, out of mind, right? We want to keep stuff in the center, front and center, so that we understand where we're at and how's the health of our process safety layers of protection there in our culture. And then also we covered how to elevate the process safety standard at your site for the long term by regularly reinforcing the why. We all have families back home. We want to return home safely. It's not another corporate agenda. It shouldn't be looked at another paperwork or another procedure. No, there's a real reason why this needs to be priority, is so that we can return home to our loved ones. We've all seen catastrophic events when we take our eye off the ball on process safety. And by really making this emotional, making it hit home, you're going to be able to get a better culture at your side. So promoting process safety vigilance day to day, changing that mindset for the longer term, and taking organizational feedback so that, it's not a one-way communication. You're actually having a two-way communication. Goes along well with the site team members. Okay. So for today, the homework is very easy. First of all, you want to download the Sustain Phase cheat sheets. They're all in our links in the description here below and in our community. So one click away, you can download it. We encourage you to download it, print it, discuss it with your teams, use it as your process safety moment. When you're working on site, they're always looking for a process safety moment. So use it as a conversation piece to push the process safety leadership talk forward. So you've got 3 for this phase. That's the managed workload. That's the display KPI one. And that's the elevate safety standard. All right. Then the next piece is complete the sustain phase self-assessment. And I'll show you how to do that. The link is in our 100% free community full of process safety leaders across different industries and different sites worldwide. So we want you to join our community, participate, share lessons learned, your biggest takeaways as part of the challenge. And the last piece is, if you're ready, I hope that you're working on your process safety leadership for your site. And if you are, I guess I'm going to ask, are you working on your process safety leadership in a systematic way? And if not, we'd love to help. We are open for 5 sites and 5 companies that are looking to enroll. And so if you're ready to take your process safety leadership framework and implement it and get our help, you can schedule a 20-minute strategy call. It's 100% free. So we can look into, where you're at and seeing how Safe Energy Ops can help. And that's very easy to do. Just go to safeenergyops.com/call. All right. So with that said, once you go ahead and download in our community, if you are yet to join our community, the link is below the description. You would be getting the emails and the links to this right here. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and fill out these questions and rank yourself from 1 to 5. So for example, managing workload. Okay. Do you have a methodology of ranking process upsets based on safety, impact, and frequency? Has been developed and agreed upon. If you strongly disagree, that would be a 1. If you strongly agree, that would be a 5. And let's say, for example, the task force, right, a multidisciplinary team, has risk ranked 6 to 12 months of process safety events according to agreed upon methodology. Again, if you strongly disagree, you would rate yourself as a 1. And if you strongly agree, that would be a 5. And this is a good exercise to do as a team. If you're the leader, maybe you do this on your own and get validation with your team in a team setting. And what this is going to do is it's going to deliver, and it's going to give you a performance index, right? Like where are you at? Where are you lacking by going through this exercise? And we want you to go ahead and take advantage of this tool so that you can walk away with a focus area for your group, for your site. Okay. And so that's how to do that. And then we want you to go ahead and join the challenge and upload the results. Join the community 24/7. We all know that you're very busy. That's why we're streaming this on YouTube, so that you can consume the content at your own pace. And we want you to participate with us and other members that are process safety leaders. Okay. So with that said, if you ever want to get our help to improve your process safety leadership, go to safeenergyops.com/call. And here you can go ahead and schedule a no obligation strategy call. We just want to see if we would be a fit. We're limiting the help to 5 companies and sites to enroll and help them with their process safety leadership programs. All right. So hopefully that was useful. That was the last day of our process safety leadership challenge. Please share, please use the resources. We're putting them together because we're very passionate about this. We want everybody to return home safely. With that said, Felipe, do you have any other comments or last remarks for our audience?
Thank you guys for joining. Yeah, as Joel said, I hope you guys found some, helpful content, some value out of this, and hopefully it gets you thinking. As Joel mentioned, it's something we're passionate about, something we've seen makes a big difference when it comes to these high risk and high hazard environments and sites. And so hopefully you guys get some value out of it, and you guys reach out to us, and hopefully we can help you in any way we can. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I want to thank you, Felipe, for doing the deep dives on these steps. I want to thank our audience for tuning in and taking the responsibility to move the process safety leadership conversation forward. And we'd love to have you in our community. Post biggest takeaways, post the assignments there, and feel free to reach out to us. We're very accessible through the community. And with that said, we will see y'all on the next video. Take care.